morning and welcome to the VetJobs and Military Spouse Jobs Salute to Veterans. I'm Sandy Artman, your host today. I'm an Army veteran, 30 years, and I'm the VetJobs Employment Engagement Senior Manager. Today in the studio, I have Mr. Ralph Galati. Ralph is a Philadelphia native, a Vietnam veteran, and most importantly, a hero. He is a Vietnam POW who spent 14 months in the Hanoi Hilton, and he has a great story to tell, and he has a great, unique perspective on transition. And today we're going to talk to Ralph about his perspective on transitioning out of the service and what he has observed in the Philadelphia area, the needs of veterans and spouses and their families. So good morning, Ralph. How are you?
Great. Good morning. And thanks for the intro. I want to make sure everyone knows that it's important for me to thank VetJobs for partnering with the Philadelphia Foundation and allowing me to serve as the inaugural Weinberg Fellow. The suite of services that VetJobs provides for veterans and spouses and employers is really impressive. And from upfront counseling to job postings and to your one-of-a-kind education, training, and certification suite, it is really outstanding. So my 1-year assignment with you folks has been very rewarding, and I want to be sure I thank you for that.
Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you carrying the baton and stepping up to the plate and being our first fellow. And we also appreciate the Philly Foundation for bringing you to us and introducing you. So, Ralph, let's start. What transition and readjustment issues face our military service members today?
Sandy, based on my experience, I think it's a few things. As you well know more than anybody, the military is very disciplined, very structured, very organized. You get this sense of teamwork and brotherhood. And when you leave the military and you try to become re-civilianized, you tend to lose all of that. And, the military and the DoD does a great job of taking civilians and making them military people. Nobody's job is to take these military folks and make you a civilian again. And it's not intuitive. So even if it's just been a couple of year assignment or a short deployment or like you, a 30-year career, there's two different worlds out there, and it's really different. Also, it is hard, I think, for young military folks to adapt to this environment that they've been used to in the military and think that civilian world is going to be the same when they come back, and usually it is not. Their friends have moved on, their family members have moved on, they're either in college or they're married or whatever. So that adjustment is tough. And then finally, getting the help they need. For some reason, brand new veterans seem to be terrible, terrible customers. They don't like asking for help. They don't seem to know where to go shoot for help. Families sometimes remain a little distant, afraid to ask them what it's like in combat. So it's really important for getting them the help they need. There are plenty of services, whether it's VetJobs for jobs or for education or training, or mental health treatment, or getting into the VA system just to be sure they have a backup. Or just knowing how to behave as a civilian again. Sometimes that causes a lot of disruption and lack of harmony. So the key thing is to make sure family members and friends, spouses as well, look for some signs and make sure they're getting the help that they need. So re-civilianization, I think, is the biggest challenge today.
And, I would have to agree with you, just to comment, because that was a great synopsis. But 30 years, and somebody said to me, and I didn't realize it was, you've never been on an interview. And that's, sure, I interviewed for command, I interviewed for promotions and things like that, but not really an interview with a company or a panel or anything like is totally different. And they were right. They were right. So it was totally new aspect of life that I had to personally deal with. So I hear you, and I agree with your synopsis. So question 2, Spouses and dependents are also affected by the transition. How can they cope? Are there resources out there for spouses and dependents, or what can they do to help their service member?
Well, the key thing for everybody is getting signed up for VA benefits. And now the VA has taken a bum rap for decades, but they're a lot better. But there are plenty of benefits, services, and programs available for veterans and sometimes even for spouses and families. Even if the VA is not the right fit, there are often benefits available through state, local governments. There are also non-government related companies that are willing and able to provide services for veterans and families, and in many cases at no charge. So it's not that they aren't out there. The key thing is you have to be able to find them. So in many cases, I think finding an asset, finding a mentor, finding a sponsor, finding somebody that has already navigated the environment that is in your community can really help you fast path you and your family into a successful direction. It is often a veterans group. It could be a VA associated group, but it could be American Legion or a VFW post or Vietnam Veterans for America. It doesn't matter if you're in that era. Those folks are veteran services officers. They can point you in the right direction and kind of get you fast path. And you don't want to worry about just VA benefits or government benefits. There are also state and local benefits, and also there are a lot of issues to help with behavioral health, not just for you but for family members. So I would say the biggest single thing they could do right away is find that local resource in your community to help you find the benefits and programs and services that you are fully entitled to.
You struck on something there, and I really can appreciate what you said. And even though you didn't say it, this is what you were saying. The military is full of brothers and sisters, and we take care of our own.
Right.
And so when you transition, when you get out, get involved in your local community, because there are people that have served that are serving in your local community, and they're there wanting to help you.
Yeah.
They're more than willing to help you at the VA, at the oh gosh, I've already forgotten, the local oh my gosh, what's the retiree? I've already forgotten, Ralph.
AARP or
well, no.
I'm giving my age away already.
Well, regardless, my point is there are a plethora of veterans like us out there willing to help these folks.
And I'll tell you, the biggest challenge is if we could find veterans, we could help veterans. So it's really hard because they kind of go underground a bit, and they're not military anymore, and they don't feel like they're civilians yet, and they struggle with that. And if we could find out who they are, we could prevent a lot of mental health issues. We could prevent people from depression or anxiety, or even worse. The challenge is if we could find you right away, we could help you.
Yeah, here. All right. So question 3. What about the Transition Assistance Program, or TAP, offered by the Department of Defense? What about it? Does it work? Does it not work? Are there alternatives?
I am personally not a big fan of the TAP program. It's a great program. The concept behind it is great, but one size does not fit all. My experience has been the TAP program is only as good as the base commander support for it, and only as good as the people assigned to it that deliver it. And if neither of those things are robust or top notch, then you'll get kind of a shoddy program. Also, even though it's there for people, a lot of folks in the military just don't see it as, that's not for me. I don't need that help. I'll be okay when I get out. So there tends to be a breakdown there. But there are, to reinforce what I just said, the best thing I could offer to somebody is while you're doing your out processing, if somebody said, where are you going to go when you leave here? And you say, I'm going to X County in St. Louis. I'm going to Delaware County in Pennsylvania. That they give you an assignment that says, here's the right contact. Sandy is your guy in St. Louis, or Ralph is your guy here. Within 7 days, you got to meet them, or your out processing is not complete. You're not going to get your retirement pay. You're not going to get anything until you do this. And the benefit there is we now know who you are in our community. And now we can provide you with contacts to all these local resources that have been trying to help you. So without that contact, I think it's going to struggle. So getting that local resource, finding a local mentor or sponsor, I think is absolutely critical, not just for your mental health, but for your family support, for job support, for getting enrolled in VA, for getting enrolled or access to non-VA benefits. And it's also incumbent, I think, for family members, to go back to your earlier question, to really be on the lookout for behavioral changes. I am not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just some schmuck veteran. But I'll tell you, when you start to see behavioral changes in your veteran, whether it's issues around they're not sleeping right, they're bored, they're angry, they're playing video games all day, they're drinking and taking drugs, or maybe they're abusive. If these things seem uncharacteristic, please take action, because these things progress on a very bad path. All of a sudden, you start to see domestic abuse, drug abuse, in worst cases, suicide attempts, depression and anxiety, all of which in some sense could be treated if addressed early enough, which means it's kind of incumbent on family, neighbors, and friends, coworkers even, to point this out and ensure they get help. So I think that's the biggest issue. The TAP program helps some people, especially if you want to go into your own business or give you ideas about opportunities for you. But in many cases, I hate to say it, that most time when you're in the military, you don't take it very seriously, because all you want to do is get the hell out. And you go through the motions, but then when you get out, all of a sudden you can't figure out what to do next. So it's really important, I think, to have a local resource to help you through these issues.
Well, let me just say, I need to correct you on one item. And far be it from me to correct you, my hero, our hero. You're not just a schmuck. you came before us. You held down that blanket of freedom when I was a child. Spent 14 months in the Hanoi Hilton. You will never be just a schmuck. So unfortunately, I need to correct you on that. I appreciate your humbleness. No, TAP is not for everyone. It is not one size fits all. Fortunately, we do have it. And what it is, it's a framework that does work. It does capture, but, all things that we do can be improved. You spent many years at IBM. I spent my whole career in the Army, and then I went corporate and, in the nonprofit. And now there's always something to improve. And so I hear you, TAP is not one size fits all. I lived and breathed. I don't need TAP. I got 2 master's degree. I'm a senior officer. What do I need? That was me. I was that guy, right? And then I got home and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? Yeah. So I wish I had listened. Point is you're correct. It's not one size fits all, but we just need people to listen. And I love your point about creating points of contact back home. Now, service member will say, I'm going back to St. Louis, but he or she may not go back to St. Louis immediately. They may take a year to get back to St. Louis. So kind of problematic about the point about you're not out processed till you connect with your connection back at home. But I love the point of creating that so that it's handed to the service member and their spouse when they depart Hill Air Force Base, Fort Carson, Colorado. And we're given points of contact back home. And I like that concept. So that's very good. Very good. All right, moving on. What are some key behavioral indicators? And you've talked about this a few times already this morning, but what are some key behavioral indicators that spouses and family members should look for in their recently discharged service member?
Yeah, I think I got ahead of myself with that one, but a lot of it is spouses and family members, drinking buddies, whatever you happen to be, um, church members, they kind of know who you are. I mean, they remember you, and they're the ones that are going to find out that you look a little bit off. And but the challenge there is to get them to say something to you. Um, the the indicators that I mentioned earlier are just the obvious ones. So, if you're back home and you're basically in your bedroom all the time, that's not normal.
Yeah.
If you're not active, that's not normal. If you're waiting for things to happen, that's not normal. So, when you were in the military, you were pretty much dictated to what you were doing every day. Lots of structure, lots of schedules, lots of everything. And now all of a sudden, you're not. Uh, the biggest challenge, I think, is now you're in a position where you have to take personal responsibility for your own actions, which means you have to take action. And the challenge there is, where do you go for help? And there are plenty of resources, but we in the community already know what they are. You, as a new member of the civilian world, don't necessarily know where to go. Family members don't necessarily know where to send you, even though they're in the community. So you have to kind of dig out and find a local veterans resource. Sometimes the obvious one is somewhere in the VA, or you tend to know somebody that was in the military, or you tend to know somebody that's a member of the VFW or AMVETS or American Legion. There's posts everywhere. Just find somebody. It also happens to be every state, as far as I know, in the country has an Office of Veterans Services by some name. Within some states, like mine, Pennsylvania, every county has by law an Office of Veterans Services. So even where you live, you shouldn't be too far from a county seat or somewhere that has a resource available. But you have to go out and ask. And their job would be to help you through the basics, getting enrolled in VA. If you decide maybe you think you want to go, you have the GI Bill, maybe you want to go to college. Well, just because you have the GI Bill doesn't mean you're ready for college. Maybe it's community college. Maybe it's some other program. Maybe it's an apprenticeship or something like that. It's a trade. But you have to be able to talk to somebody so that you can avoid a false step. So just because you have some resources doesn't mean it's the right thing for you, or it could be that it's not the right time for you. So having an advocate, somebody your own age or whatever that's been through it, could really help you through avoiding false steps, avoiding wasting time, avoiding wasting money. And that's the key thing right now. So I think, using resources already in the community, or if we could speak to your friends and neighbors, family members, helping them through this, causing them to take action. They might just need that little bit of a kick to get jump started.
Great. Well, thanks, Ralph. I appreciate that. And that, those connections in your community are key, right? They're so important, so important. So lastly, we just got a couple minutes left, but lastly, what advice do you have for transitioning service members?
So the big thing I think is you have to take action. Like I said, you have to, for the first time in your life, maybe assume responsibility for yourself. Take action in your own behalf. But you have to go out there and get help. You have to find a mentor or sponsor. Get every damn benefit you are entitled to. The VA will tell you that. You are eligible for a lot, depending on how many years or days of service that you have. You have to find out what they are and get that thing processed. I believe the TAP program even allows you to start some of these processes while you're on active duty. So take advantage of all those things. The post 9/11 GI Bill is a great benefit. But if you want to give some of those dollars to your family members, I think you have to do it while you're still on active duty. So you don't want to go, I forgot, I didn't know. There are things you really have to start to be responsible for yourself. I think that's the single biggest thing in terms of re-civilianizing is, time is not always your friend. So, getting started on things quickly is good. And for those that are looking for jobs, which is just about everybody, the VetJobs is really a great place to start. From their upfront work with counseling and advising, everything from resumes to interviewing skills, to the job posting suite you have on there, and then to the education, training, and certification of the back end. That is a great tool for veterans and family members and dependents and ROTC members and Guard and Reserve. I don't care where you are. It is a great place to start this new career that you have. So I want to thank the Philadelphia Foundation, the Weinberg Fellowship for allowing me to participate and learn more about VetJobs and hopefully exposing more of our community to the great suite of services. And that's going to help them with getting back on track and avoiding some of these road bumps on the way.
Well, that's great, Ralph. So take action. That's what we need service members to do, and family members. Take action. So we really appreciate your time today. Want to thank the Philadelphia Foundation. Thank you, Ralph, for your precious time today. And thank our listeners and viewers for taking the time. And we appreciate you. And we'll see you around the battle space.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
All right. See you, Ralph.